George all these years to plan these programs, and Stacy Peterson. We're the three of us get together every June and plan this, and we've had Sammi before, and when I called her, she goes, "Oh, I wrote a book." I went, "Oh, wow." And I'll start the intro then. So, Sammi King, I first became aware of Sammi when she was a featured bride in the King County Chronicle. And I found it in my drawer the other day, and Gary says they have copies. Yeah. But if you remember, 1968... 86. They went all around the Tri-Cities and were photographed in jewelry stores and china shops, and she was the lovely bride they were featuring. So that's why I first... Who is this blonde, you know? Anyway, a few years later, when I was coordinating Art in Your Eye, we had her puppet show, and she was just wonderful, and we had that a couple of years, didn't we? And I see the little kids back there. They're doctors and teachers now, but they were behind the puppets, so still are. I last saw you on the stage with Les Mis, so that dates me. And you. Her sons are back there. Okay, and I think she's going to mention them. That's why they came here to cover the reputation.
They're a little scared.
What's Mom going to say?
Yeah.
Sammi last spoke at Books Between Bites in October 2016, the book The Dream, and then she wrote her own. And so I'm very pleased now to just have Sammi King come up. And Gary is here, her husband. And a lot of you already got your books, but afterwards I think she has more, right? Come on up, Sammi.
So if this is going to be documented, I'm just going to do about like 10 minutes to try and lose 15 pounds in about 5. So, but I want to thank, first of all, George, who's leaving now as I'm thanking him. Oh my gosh. But George is, of course, leaving his position at the library, and he has been not just a great librarian, head librarian, but also a member of our community doing so many different things, and we all need to thank him for that. So, no, we're applauding you, we don't applaud. And also, Stacy is such a calming force when you're doing something like this, because you'll call and you go, "Oh my gosh, Stacy, so I need to do this audiovisual, can I get in ahead of time, you know?" And she just is like, "Don't worry about it, I'll be fine." She came up here and she goes, "Don't worry about it, I'll be fine." So it's like, I hope I don't have to worry about it and I'll be fine. Anyway, and then of course, Kathy, I didn't know Kathy, but she came in to help when we had this run through. And I thought, she's going to think I'm a nut, because I'm like going, "Oh my God, maybe I'll just sing the whole program. I don't know what I'm going to do." So she was a great help, and we got this all situated. But I also want to thank my dear friend Casey, who's here. Raise your hand, Casey. Casey did the illustrations and the front cover design. But most importantly, Casey held my hand through the year and a half when I rewrote all the stories I decided to put in this book. And I would go, "I don't think this one should go in." "No, I like it, Sammi, I like it." "No, I hate it, Casey." And so she went through a year and a half of that, which is not an easy thing to do. And then of course Gary, who is here to my right, who has read this book so many times he'll probably use it for toilet paper, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure he never wants to see it again. So I thought I'd start out by giving you the backstory on this book. And I'm doing that because I'm pretty sure that Larry Potash will never cover this on WGN in his backstory show. But it all started on a cold morning in October of 1988. We closed on this house, and we were ecstatic. We were so excited. We had gotten this house. It had taken a year and a half because the house sat in half in the city and half in the township. So we finally got the house. We were so happy. And I was pregnant. I was going to have my second child. and I might need some light up here. That's all right. Anyway, our happiness didn't last too long because on that very same afternoon, Gary found out we were going to Canada, and it was going to be a 2-year project. So 7 months later, I quit my job at Duquesne, and Gary, Gregor, who was 2 at the time, and I packed up the car and we headed to Canada, to our new home in Guelph, Ontario. We were lucky enough to find a wonderful doctor up there, thankfully, who brought our little Canadian into the world, Kevin. I subscribed to the local paper just because I wanted to be able to find out what was going on in the community. And I read a column for moms that I thought, I could do that. I honestly could do that. So when I got back a year and a half later, on the advice of my dear friend and former editor Marge Holbrook, I sent samples about my writing to the Beacon, and it was a column featuring stay-at-home moms. They hired me to write opposite another mom, or columnist, who was writing about tips for working moms, and her column was 1 Minute Mom. I told Becky that I planned to write this book before COVID. During COVID, we decided to do some home projects, in case you've been past our house, and seen the multiple dumpsters that have arrived on a regular basis. Well, I'm the kind of person that if I see a dumpster and there's like this much space in it, I can get this much in to put into that much space. So I started cleaning out the basement. And I found 2,000 columns in a couple of bins, and I started reading them, now, which is ridiculous, but I did. I sat in this awful basement reading these columns. And I also found letters from readers who had enjoyed the columns. So it gave me the motivation to work on this book. And we are now on Be Proud of Being a Mom.
Sorry.
The beginning columns, should I turn around? The beginning columns were all about, you're too soon.
No, it's too late. Go ahead. Okay. I didn't stop.
See, I knew this was going to be stressful. So all these beginning columns were about basically be proud of being a mom. And I'm going to read one. Go ahead, admit it. Hasn't there been more than 1 or 2 moments in your life, and this is for all moms, when you felt unloved, underappreciated, a non-entity in a sea of domesticity? Rather than call yourself a homemaker, you conjure up titles like domestic engineer, CEO of the home. Does anyone thank you for clean socks, clean underwear, fresh sheets on the bed? When you clean the house or you wash the windows, who says, the house looks great, or the windows are so clean? Well, that's never been said in my house. When you make a special effort in the kitchen, do you get that's the best pie ever tasted? Or is that Miss Baker's Square, Costco? What is that? When you assume chauffeur duties, how many in the family say, thanks for the ride? Gosh, you put gas in the car. You are a mom, you're doing a great job, especially since you're on call day and night. You are a nurse, cook, chauffeur, children's television analyst, creative play consultant, dishwasher, housekeeper, on good days only, of course, for me, laundry specialist, fight referee, mender of broken spirits and hurt egos, and leader of moral values. You are an in-person influencer. If you do your job right, the child you raise today will be the adult you're proud of tomorrow. Then I had a bad day. And if you've gotten the book, if you've read the book, some call it the barbecue column, some call it the Play-Doh column, some call it the gynecologist column, but it was an awful day. And I talked to my sister and I said, oh my God, I'm on deadline. I don't know what I'm going to write because I just had this horrendous day. And she's like, well, what happened? So I told her this whole story. And then once she stopped laughing, she said, you need to write that up. And so I started writing about my sons.
You must have been a wonderful child when you only started going to kindergarten. I bet you drove a little girl wild. And when it came to winning showed the other kids how. I can see the judge's eyes as they handed you the prize. I bet you made the cutest bow. Oh, you must have been a beautiful baby. 'Cause baby, look at you now.
You know, we all know that moms have difficult days. And you know, sometimes kids have difficult days too, and we need to understand that. He's having a problem with his And this is a story about a little shoplifter. And we've all had one in our lives, I think. For me, it was a total embarrassment. Case number 552. The state versus 3-year-old accused of taking a candy bar from the checkout area. Punishment? 2 days of parents' downcast eyes and return of all stolen goods. We've all been there. You don't hear about it on the 6 o'clock news, but trust me, most moms and dads have gone through the agony of finding a pilfered item hidden in a tiny person's pocket. I recall one incident in our family. I was shocked when the tiny criminal who shared my bloodline produced the goods with pride. Like the cat that carries the dead mouse to the door, he smiled over the seizure of his sugar-laden riches. Where had I gone wrong? I told him that stealing was bad, and he grinned wider than Howdy Doody. Then I told him that it was against the law to steal, so he would have to return the candy or do time in his room. Since he'd been caught with the goods and couldn't cop a plea, he opted for the return. I told him that I would go with him to assure that my first-time offender got some leniency. As we walked into the store, I found myself uneasy. But my little shoplifter, he didn't seem to be a bit upset. I told the clerk at the service desk that my son had something he needed to return, and she called head of security. A big, burly security guard approached, who turned out to be a sheep in wolf's clothing. Correction, make that a lambykins. After my son apologized for taking the candy bar, this man, he gets down on one knee, smiles, and tells my son, I know it will never happen again. Where was the fear? Why did I get the patron saint of thievery to hear my son's confession? The security guard explained that he didn't want kids to be afraid of him, and that most kids never attempted to take anything again. He was right, it never happened again. I don't know if it was the security guard that did it, or it was my threat of go the straight and narrow, or you're never going to see another candy bar again. With preschoolers, there are many funny moments that just seem to happen out of the blue. And actually, Kevin said to me this morning, Mom, how come all of my stories are like, but anyway, I don't know which son this is about. I was to go into the 4-year-old classroom at Batavia Nursery School, and that proved to be a moment that I will always remember. With a stamp of his foot and a determined look on his face, my younger son said defiantly, I'm taking you for show and tell today, and that's that. Over a year ago, my son had asked me to make an appearance at his school. Now I was facing the day of reckoning. Any mom would be flattered to be the object of show and tell, until she realized that she had to dress like an elephant. Gary? Elephant? This puts a slant on the show and tell story that spin doctors never mention. On the morning of my show and tell debut, my 4-year-old director decided I needed a rehearsal. I retrieved the elephant costume from the basement and I put it on. I pranced into the living room in an elephant-like fashion. I was quite surprised when my little guy threw his eyes up in the air, or arms up in the air and yelled, okay, in the basket. What? I said. In the basket. All show and tell goes in the basket when we get to school. The image of myself standing in a basket with Barbie, the Power Rangers, and Micro Machines didn't appeal to me, and I told him so. Okay, he said. You probably wouldn't fit anyway. With such a complimentary partner, my confidence was waning. As we pulled into the parking lot, I faced a new problem. Stop the car! Stop the car! We don't have a bag! It was then I remembered that all show and tell items had to go into the school in a bag so that the kids could not see what the item was. I was not about to put myself into a body bag. I persuaded my little P.T. Barnum to go into school ahead of me, and I would make my entrance after school started. To giggles of delight, I entered the room. I stood before 22 fascinated faces. I felt great. I knew how the animals in the zoo felt. I waited for the tiny talker to give the audience his story. Much to my surprise, has never happened again. He was silent. That's right, silent. So we had to change our act to me and Mom, the talking elephant. Mr. Ed had nothing on me. After school, I asked the shy little showman if the kids enjoyed his show and tell. No way, he replied. No one really believed you were an elephant. Stifling laughter, I thought, well, for that observation, I'm really grateful. So if you are not familiar with me or our family, we are a musical family. We sing a lot. In fact, when Kevin was in the Peace Corps in Azerbaijan, he said the one thing that he missed was singing in the kitchen with all of us. And even Gary, who's sidelines, is a professional trombonist, he sings, although he thinks he's a tenor and he's really a baritone. But, and he doesn't do audiovisual very well. But when I was asked to sing Whistle a Happy Tune for a hospital benefit, I accepted and began practicing at home. My older son learned the entire song. He knew I was getting ready for the show, and this precocious 4-year-old wanted to be a part of it. After talking with the director, we agreed to let him sing one verse. As the production dates approached, I saw a temperamental artist emerge. On Monday of Tech Week, he told me, I'm not going to sing. On Tuesday, he wanted to do the show, but he wanted to do the whole song himself, and he didn't want me to sing at all. On Wednesday, he was a bit more agreeable, but he missed his cue at dress rehearsal and didn't get to sing his verse. He left the stage with a quivering lower lip. The next day, I told my son that he didn't have to do it. I could do it by myself. He threw a fit. He was going to do it, and that was that. That night, as I waited to go on stage with a tiny little tuxedo gentleman next to me, I'll admit, I don't usually get nervous when I sing. I was a wreck. I knew that I could handle his laughter, his silence, or even ad-libbing, but I could not handle him crying. So, I did what any mom would do, but probably shouldn't have done. Here's the deal, Gregor, you do it right and you get $20 to spend it towards Somehow, from 3 feet below came this very adult voice saying, "You got it, Mom." And his performance went off without a hitch. Experience was very positive until the cast started praising him. I could actually see him like puff up with pride. Soon he was going around to all the adults saying, "Hey, good job! Great show, guy! You were great, guy!" Even went up to one woman who only gave him a smile and said, "Well, aren't you going to tell me how good I did? What's wrong?" So later when I tucked him into bed, he told me what a fine time he'd had, and he really wanted to do it again. And as I turned off the light, he gave me his final request. "Mom, do you suppose next time you could learn the music to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? It would be a great song for us." So in the holiday section of the book, oh, he didn't come, he's afraid. In the holiday section of the book is a story about May Day. And I have to add, I thought he might be here, but his wife is here. But for how many years did you try to make a 4-year-old, 5-year-old, 6-year-old, 7-year-old, 8-year-old like you? They would bring cookies over. They brought flags on Flag Day. They were always doing things for this one child who just wasn't going to have it. It's like, they still bring cookies. Oh, I didn't mean to have those up there. Anyway, so this is the May Day story. When I was a kid, I made May baskets and took them to my neighbors and friends, just as my mom had done. It was an experience that I wanted my boys to have. It didn't quite turn out the way I expected. It was the first May Day my boys would celebrate. The King household was abuzz with the excitement of transforming leftover wallpaper and glue into those peculiar rites of spring known as May baskets. Flowers were looked, cookies made, and fudge bowls licked. After one night's quick sleep, the King boys would make their journey of wallpaper cones filled with generosity. May Day, 6:30 a.m. Only one member of the King family rises for the occasion, and her name is Mom. One kid is down with the flu, the other lies in a bed of lost enthusiasm, a slave to the enticement of slumber. "Get up," I said gently. "It's time to make your deliveries." He dragged himself out of bed with such a look I knew he would never end up working in a Dunkin' Donut shop. In the kitchen, he perked up a bit, and he was ready. So I said, "Okay, the secret of May basket delivery is to be quick, like a bunny. You don't want to get caught." He agreed to be a PF flyer and set out with the first basket. Upon his return, I asked, "Did anyone see you?" "Yes." "Maybe you should slow down as you approach the house and be as quiet as a mouse." He agreed, and basket number 2 was on its way. "How did it go?" I asked when he returned. "They saw me." After baskets 3 and 4, he uttered the same reply. On basket 5, things changed. He came home with tears in his eyes and his lower lip quivering. "What's wrong?" I asked. "We shouldn't have taken a basket to that new neighbor. He yelled at me for ringing his doorbell and running." I had no idea that this quick as a bunny, quiet as a mouse child of mine was practicing ding-dong ditch at 6:30 in the morning. The neighbor called and was wonderfully understanding, but I decided to take no chances with the next delivery. I accompanied the little delivery man to his destination. "Do you think she saw us, Mom?" "No way, you did a great job." When we got home, the phone rang. It was the recipient of basket number 6, thanking us for the nice surprise. "How did you know, my little mayfly?" I asked. "Just a lucky guess. I helped your mom wallpaper that room." Most of the stories in my book, and I do have, probably the loss of the pet column is a little bit of a sad story, but I think it's still uplifting because of what Gregor went through at that time. But most of them, I wanted this book to be a happy book. With the way times are right now, I wanted people to read this book, have a quick read, and say, "I feel good after reading that book. I feel happy," or "I smile." And that was important to me. So this is the only one that appeared in the Daily Herald. I could be wrong, but this is about how your marriage and your life changes over the course of time with a Christmas tree. The young couple looking for their first tree was all aglow with love and romance, and the desire to find the perfect tree for their first Christmas together. "What's the difference between a balsam, a Douglas, and a Fraser?" she asked. How can you tell if the tree is fresh, they wanted to know. Is it difficult to put the tree up in the stand, he wondered. The overworked tree salesman tried to answer as many questions as he could, but there were other customers to wait on, and the number at the checkout line already numbered 5. I wanted to tell this young couple to treasure the first Christmas, because the ghost of the first Christmas will make allowances for trees that have fallen over or carpets that become infested with needles. No one will care if there's enough tree sap on the floor that your feet adhere like flies to flypaper. And if ornaments are broken, there might be tears, but tears can be wiped away with a gentle hug. And new ornaments mean new traditions. They will see only the good parts of the tree, the glowing lights, the shining star at the top, the ornament that symbolizes their union, declaring their first Christmas together. She will bake his mother's favorite cookie recipe, and they will toast the tree with spiked eggnog. The ghost of the second Christmas will find the tree in a more troubled state. He won't want to spend the time in the cold looking for the perfect tree. He'll try to play on her sympathies, saying that the tree with a hole is perfect because no one else will be able to offer it love as they would. He won't understand that pregnancy makes it tough for her to hold the tree upright while he is lying under the tree, trying to bolt the balsam into the stand. As he complains, she will consider letting the tree fall on him, but then declines that option, knowing that his anger is short-lived. She makes her mother's favorite cookie recipe, and they enjoy the beautiful tree together. The ghost of the fifth Christmas will find both of them again searching for the perfect tree to be able to create the perfect Christmas for their kids. She will suggest that they cut down their own Fraser fir. She insists that they wait for a gentle snow. With ice snow pelting in his face, he will pull and pull the saw through the hard wood, and then he will drag to the car while she comforts the younger child who cries, "Daddy killed the tree! Daddy killed the tree!" Everyone will decorate the tree together, and the bottom will be filled with ornaments created by the kids. The photo ornaments will replace the treasured Radcos, and the handmade paper star emblazoned with the words, "Love you, Mom," will find the best place of all. They will sit and admire the beautiful tree while enjoying cookies and hot chocolate. She will make her kids' favorite recipe, any cookie with thousands of sprinkles. The ghost of the 10th Christmas will find 3 trees in the house, 2 fake that she will put up, and 1 real that they will do together. Duties are now assigned. He does the light, she does the ornaments. When she tires, she institutes forced family fun, requiring each member of the family to hang 5 ornaments each night. She makes slice and bake cookies, admires the tree, and eats most of the cookies herself. On the 20th Christmas, their lives have changed. They are empty nesters. They put up the tree, and it leans so far to the east that she's afraid it might be considered communistic. She doesn't say a word when he leaves it that way. The needles fall on him as he bolts the tree in. Over the years, they've learned this is not a good sign. He doesn't complain. After his heart attack, cookies and hot chocolate are just a memory in a healthier home. Each one looks at the tree with a grateful heart. They are thankful that they are both here to enjoy its slanted beauty. Gary and I feel very fortunate to have had the opportunity to raise our sons here in Batavia. And to be able to save part of Batavia's history by restoring this house. There are days when I remember one day I actually put a sign up in the front, "Buy this house cheap before Gary gets home." So it hasn't been easy because there have been things that have gone on that I'm like, oh my gosh. So, but we love the house, we love Batavia, we feel like this is a community that is so special. And all of you are special for coming today because I literally have been begging on Facebook and everywhere, which I am so totally embarrassed by, but please, please, I need to get people there, please. So for Books Between Bites to be in its 35th year, did you say? I mean, it was started by Becky's parents, and Becky has worked tirelessly to keep this thing going. And it's a wonderful gift to our community, and I'm so thankful to be able to be a part of it. So, that's it. Oh, no, I have to say one more thing. If you're planning to get your book signed, if you're going to buy some books, I do have to share with you that in 3rd grade, Doris Wagner had me after school for 3 nights to improve my penmanship. And then she said, I don't think we need to take the time anymore. So I can't even read my own signature. So I'm not sure you'll be able to, but actually Pete Donnet commented on something I put on Facebook, and he said, you know, I've been writing my own signature. I don't know who it is when I look at it, so I'm not alone in that. So my writing is not very good, and I do ask that you come up, if you are coming up, and take a bookmark and put your name at the top, print it, because I don't care if you're Ann, you may have an Ann with an E or Ann without an E, so I just want your name correct if I am signing it. So thank you so much for coming. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it, really. Thank you. Oh, do you have any questions? Probably most of you could give me some advice. Any questions? I should have my son stand up. Kevin's now a doctor at Rush. Gregor's a music teacher in DeKalb, and Gregor sings in the St. Charles Singers, and I'm bragging enough about them. So you may sit down. Any questions?
Are the books up front?
They are up front, so.
There's a question right
Do you
there.
take credit cards?
We do not take credit cards, I'm so sorry. So, question? Mm-hmm.
Sammy, I just want to say thank you for the book, because a book like that makes us all feel more normal. So it sets up everything that we're supposed to be, just utopia perfectionist people. And to have something like that, I think it puts us at ease. One last to add to your story, my dad was Bert Johnson, he ran the drugstore. I still have adults come to me apologizing for taking a candy bar. And I'm like, well, you know, they were nickel then, I'll take 4.
I don't know how they got past Helen. She was there walking the whole time. I worked at the drugstore. Bert was one of the best bosses ever. Such a kind soul. Anything else?
Where's Gracie?
Where's Gracie? Probably destroying everything in our house right now. So, and the mud flats, actually, my neighbor asked what was going on, and I said, well, we took out all the grass, because now we're going to put in concrete and have a parking lot for the community van to park on, because they come at the 4th of July, and he believed me. But we're trying to grade away from the house so that we don't get water in the basement. So, anything else? Thank you for coming. Thank you so much.